Before we dig in, a quick thank you to the sponsors ready to grow with the Soil Sisters. Fed and Happy is the official nutrient provider for the Soil Sisters projects because we believe in the Fed and Happy philosophy that if the worms won't eat it, neither will we. And Tejas Tonic is the official beverage of the Texas Soil Sisters. We especially love that the hemp for Tejas Tonic is organically farmed in the Texas Hill Country, with farms in both Dripping Springs and Lukenbach, Texas. The Soil Sisters podcast is powered by B&P Electric. Whether you're building, remodeling, installing low-voltage landscape lighting, or in need of an inspection, B&P is your Central Texas electrical contractor. Find links to our sponsors in the podcast show notes or head over to txsoilsisters.co. You're listening to the Soil Sisters podcast, where we dig in on family farming and ranching, regenerative agriculture, healthy living, and planting seeds in our community. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and grow with the Soil Sisters. Hey, sis.
Off to a smooth start.
Just like everything else in our life.
I really love it. It's so good.
So we just got home from our family reunion. I feel like we have 1,000 things that we could talk about. So where do you want to start, my sister?
Oh my gosh. Well, first of all, it was fantastic. And that was so great. So anyway, we had such a fun time, and everyone that was there was, down to chat about soil health and planting and growing. And so, it was really exciting.
Well, this is something we do every year. I mean, I know a lot of people will do a family reunion every so often, and there's, a bunch of people there. It's like the extended family. And so for our family, we get together once a year. We have 4 sisters, or I have 4 sisters. There's 5 of us total. And so each year we pick a location. And this year, was it Bambi's year to pick? I don't know.
Yes,
but everyone wanted to go home because they wanted to see our hemp. Oh,
the big reveal.
Oh my gosh. And we were so excited about it. And then we get there. And y'all, I mean, how many times can some folks fail in one season and keep laughing about it?
This many.
Yeah, right. So Crystal, Dion, and I got on one of the ATVs, and in order to get to our hemp field, we cut across a 50-acre field that's got hay grazer planted in it. And the ATVs out on the ranch, there's not a windshield. There's not doors. It's just rugged outdoorness. Well, the way my dad has always cut through this field, he just goes a straight diagonal shot from the gate across the field to where the 80 acres where the hemp is. So the whole thing gets planted, but you're basically driving diagonal across a row. And so we start driving, and the hay grazer looks amazing. How tall was that? 5-6 feet?
Yes. Yep.
And I'm driving, and it's seeding. So we're just driving across it and just getting covered in seed and pollen and spiders, grasshoppers. I mean, it was insane.
Stickers.
And all through this week, I'm going to be posting to our Instagram stories just a lot of the craziness that we experienced over the 4-day weekend. But we're just like, wow, this hay grazer looks great. Dion's got a black towel covering her, so she's not getting all the stuff all over her in the back seat. And we clear the field, and I just see a sea of brown at the hemp field. And I'm like, what am I seeing? What is that? And I just felt completely deflated when my vision cleared up and aligned and noticed that it looked like we had planted hemp in a sticker field. There were grass burrs everywhere. Yeah. I mean, so bad that we didn't get out of the ATV.
No way, man.
And I couldn't believe it. I mean, when I'd been at the ranch like 3 weeks ago, the hemp was about the same height, but I didn't see all of those stickers. But we've had a lot of extra rain. And apparently, hearing from my aunt and uncle, when we get a lot of rain at the ranch, the stickers go nuts. So we don't have a harvestable crop at the ranch either.
And that's okay, because we have roots in the soil, hemp roots in the soil, which are remediating the soil. And we have living roots in the soil. That's what we want. So something is happening. And the fact that we did it and we are learning every step of the way is powerful.
Well, and the glaring, obvious visual was that the field that we drove through with the hay grazer that had herbicides and chemical fertilizers on it looked outstanding. Guys, like, slow clap for Big Ag on that one. All right. We're doing the regenerative model. This is the very, very first step that we took. I mean, it's not pretty.
Yeah.
And I had a text exchange with the agronomist. Right there in the field, he was supposed to come the next day to get our samples for our THC testing. And I'm like, don't even bother driving in from Wichita Falls.
No need.
Save your gas money. This isn't necessary. So Serge, the VP of Ag, messaged me yesterday saying, hey, I hear things aren't looking so great, but, maybe let's check it out first. And I'm like, bro.
Are you from Texas?
This is really, really not necessary. But I felt very uncomfortable in this exchange because I know we are the only people they're working with that didn't follow the Big Ag model. And they said, okay, they were curious to see it as well. But when you just look at it from this one experience, people want to laugh at us and be like, oh, yeah, you and your biological solutions. Yeah. And so I did offer to him, like, look, I know you might not want to mess with us Regen Ag folks in the future, but what I'm hoping is that they will stick with us and they will get a little more curious. He was asking me questions.
Yes.
Does this mean organic? What are you talking about here as far as what y'all want to do? And it was just kind of shocking to me to be having that conversation.
Yeah.
But that's the truth of it.
Right.
I mean, even though regenerative agriculture is the original way of doing agriculture, it's been forgotten, especially in places like Texas. And so those of us that are leaning into it, we've got a lot of explaining to do.
Yeah.
And it's our responsibility to educate these people on what regenerative agriculture actually is. What are these principles? What are the benefits? Because at the end of the day, like I told him, we are choosing natural over poison. Yeah. And the biggest expense of farmers is to use these chemical inputs. They are the reason that farmers are broke.
Yeah.
They can't make money. They can't get ahead because in order to have that beautiful hay grazer crop, you're going to have to do that every single year.
Yeah.
And so what we're soft talk, what we are doing is the long game. It's putting in the effort and the energies now without a payout, except for education. Yeah. But knowing that what we are doing will help us wean off of any sort of chemical poisons, any of those sorts of things that everyone else is going to have to keep doing year after year. Like when we said, what's the solution for stickers? What did everybody tell us? What's the one word?
Poison.
Poison. That's the only way to do it.
Only way, hon.
You got to poison it. And we are stubborn and we refuse to believe that.
Well, and I do want to say about that beautiful bright green hay grazer, there ain't no nutritional value in that. There's nothing When you use chemical fertilizers, you are not utilizing the microbiology in the soil to cycle the nutrients that are there and actually give them to your plants. You're hitting that plant with a drug that is causing it to green up, but it's not filling it or packing it with nutrients that's going to feed your animal or your family anything better than the poison that you've put into it. So
a couple of the things that we had talked about, like how do we remedy this?
Yeah.
You know, we talked about controlled burn, getting rid of the stickers that way.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we've had enough rain in our county that might be something that would get okayed,
Right.
might be legal to do in the
Mm-hmm.
window. But I was talking to a firefighter friend who said about 80% of the time, those end up getting canceled because, you know, the winds are up or they've shifted in another direction. And so that is a wild card for us.
Mm-hmm.
This acreage is below the house. And
Right.
the last thing we're trying to do is to burn the ranch down.
We'll skip that part.
So the other thing was something you had read about and looked up, and it is using the problem as the solution, creating an extract from the sticker burrs.
Yes.
Say taking those plants
Yes.
and creating, what was it, a ferment, did you say?
Yes, it's actually taking the material, whatever it is, whatever kind of weed, or because we could also use this for Johnson grass, perhaps mesquite, we'll see. And gathering a lot of the material, putting it in a barrel or a bucket and putting something heavy on top of it and allowing it to ferment in its own juices. There are some different ones that you might need to add a little water to, but the point is to get the microbiology that's going to break that plant down, to start breaking the plant down. And then you use that liquid to spray on the field and it breaks those plants down out there.
So had we talked about maybe going ahead and baling it and then putting that solution down, or putting that solution down and then baling it?
If we baled it, we could then use that for compost. Yes. And we would want to do a thermophilic compost pile that got hot enough for long enough to really burn up those seeds. That's the only way that would be a good idea. You couldn't just throw that down and let it be a static compost pile. You would want to really make sure that the temperature got high enough to kill those weed seeds. Yeah.
And how long does something like that take?
Well, it has to be 130 degrees for at least 3 days, or it can be like 150 degrees for 2 days or 165 for 24 hours. So that's the time and temperature to break that stuff down, to burn those up. So
it doesn't seem that long.
No, it doesn't. It's not. It's an involved process, but it's not something we can't do.
Yeah. Well, and I just have a feeling that the controlled burn might go over like a lead balloon with Daddy. So that may be what we're looking at. So that was, our whole family came in to see the hemp. And I was like, if you want to see it, take Daddy's truck and go down there. I'm not going back down there. I was sick. I can't look at it again. I don't want to talk about it. So we ended up spending a lot of time just sitting underneath the pergola, talking about our vision of what we want to do, not what is currently staring us in the face.
But that was why it's so good. It was perfect. It was very focusing, and it helped me get clear and to understand a little better what we're doing. And what we're doing is helping people understand why they have what they have. So maybe we have to figure that out more first before we can then help explain to other people. But I have a general grasp of why these things are happening. I just have to put the time in, the effort, the focus for me to read and study and understand, and then start putting some of those things in practice to really help explain this in a very kindergarten way to people, why you have weeds, why you have pests, and then help them see how easily we can shift and change that.
When we were talking out in the green room before the show, you said that you had been looking into that, because there are some pretty common ones that most people complain about. And sticker burrs is definitely one of them. We've had a lot of those conversations. Johnson grass. What else?
I had seen people posting on social media about, look at all this. Why are these weeds so green? And why is my grass not growing well? So I know why that is. So anyway, it's that's something that we really are going to help people understand a little better, and to work on ourselves, and to take care of our land and other people's. And this is in your yard, or this is anywhere. So do we want to talk about this now, or do you have?
I mean, we can talk about the family reunion. We can keep going down this. I'm free and easy today. I am way less stressed than I was last week. And also part of that's because I've just let go of this grant.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. Yes.
Just like you gave me 2.5 weeks to prepare this and raise $150,000. Are you kidding me? If I could do that, I wouldn't be doing this. So let me hit some of the highlights from the family reunion. Perfect. So, we had talked last week about watching the Roots So Deep documentary. So it was really fun to get up and just go on a walkabout, me, you, and Dion. And through those fresh eyes of seeing what these scientists were looking at, us walking around the ranch and identifying the plant species and the birds and the insects and what we were seeing. And I was really impressed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our dad does a great job. He is an excellent land steward. He's an excellent rancher. I feel like he is one of those people. Yes. Well, I feel like he's one of those people that is like, I'm a rancher. That guy over there is a farmer. And in regenerative agriculture and in successful agriculture, those things can't be mutually exclusive. You have to be both. And the things, though, that we saw out at the ranch were very promising. Things looked really good.
Yes. And we will talk about that on the other side of this underwriting announcement.
So, yeah, we'll be posting on social and whatnot some of the stuff that we were finding. But do you have anything to share about our little walkabout?
So many birds, so many dragonflies. And again, dragonflies are apex predators in your garden. And if you have dragonflies, you have a good ecosystem there for all kinds of insects and other bugs. So that was really exciting to see how many there were, and so many butterflies, and there are grasshoppers, absolutely, tons of spiders, doodle bugs, very exciting. What's the other word?
Dung beetles?
Dung beetles, yes. Somebody was like, what's a doodle bug? I'm like, I don't know. What do you call it?
Well, part of that Roots So Deep documentary, everyone was complaining on these big ag ranches, farms and ranches, that they loved bird hunting, but they hadn't seen quail in a really long time. And there's a lot of bob whites that you could hear, throughout the day. It was just fun to be like, okay, this is good.
Yep. Yes.
There was a nice variety of species. Now, we talked about the little insects, but Dion's favorite was coming up on a bunch of tarantulas in the evening. And then as we were leaving to go up to the bunkhouse to spend the night, the three of us were walking to the Polaris, and Dion's eagle eyes spotted like a 4-foot long rattler.
Yep.
She was not pleased.
She had all about the country that she wanted.
Well, and of course, Crystal, being the animal whisperer that she is, she's like walking towards it saying, you need to get out of here. Like, do you know what's going to happen to you if you stay here? Now, granted, we haven't had a rattlesnake in the front yard at the ranch in a really long time. I mean, there's enough activity that they're normally not, but This little guy just kept steady coming towards us. And I'm like, okay, Miss Snake Whisperer, I'm going to go handle business. So I go in the house looking for a hoe. And there were quite a few of them in there. Zing! No hoes in the house. So, of course, the whole family has to see.
Yeah.
And Buffy's new boyfriend was in town and had the pressure and honor of killing the rattlesnake in the front yard. Of course, we have 9 little kids running around, so couldn't stay. But the next day, we were sitting there and Dion said, I wonder what a rattlesnake totem is. Like, what is it saying? And so I looked it up and I'm going to read this to you. The experience that you are presently going through are initiation into fulfilling your purpose as a healer. The foundation for compassion is in an awareness that suffering is a natural part of life, whether through the empathic appreciation of another being's pain or the experience of having suffered oneself, and which beings have not at times felt that pain or sorrow. That is an aspect of living on this planet. The deeper you go into the soul of another, the more you can feel what they feel, yet paradoxically maintain a certain distance or objectivity. And it really resonated because of what we are doing on our own land, the experience we're having with our father as 4th to 5th generation, the changing of the guards, if you will, where we are wanting to take what he's done and steward it in a different direction. And these feelings of, I'm trying to choose my words very, very wisely right now, because I know he'll eventually listen to this, but like judgment, like that we're judging his way and that his way was wrong. And
that's how he feels.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it's really trying to put myself where he is and diplomatically figure out how to have these conversations. I mean, you and I are straight shooters, and sometimes we can rub folks the wrong way with our directness.
True.
So, I felt it was appropriate, and it made me think a little bit more about him and how we're dealing with these things.
Yeah. I'm trying to be just easy about it with myself and with him, and understanding that he's been doing this for a very long time, and he does feel judged, and he does feel like we're criticizing him. And I'm not. I have no idea the pressure that he's been under all these years trying to make the ranch work and spend the money that he's told he's had to spend over and over and over again. So I don't judge anyone who's living in the world that they're living in that we didn't understand we came into. Like, they've been telling us and selling us these products and these ideas for a long time. And it's only in the past however many years that this stuff has been more coming into mainstream, but also like we're looking for that. We're looking. Anytime I need anything, I look natural remedy, organic, like that's the search that I do. And that's not necessarily what people are searching for, but that's what's out there. And the potential for that is really real. And that's really what we're trying to anchor into this new earth, this new reality, this new way of being that isn't cutting, burning, poisoning.
And all of those things that you're talking about, that's all reactionary.
Yes.
It's, here's a problem that I have to poison, or, here's an issue that I have to throw a bunch of money at. And this idea of it being proactive,
yes,
playing the long game, understanding that some of the things that we're doing now, it won't be a big win, but we will notice the little things, whether or not it's soil compaction lightening up or more diversity of insects, less weeds.
Right.
Those sorts of things are what we consider a win right now, which will lead to getting a premium on your wheat or your hay or whatever. I mean, we interviewed a farmer when we were driving back on Monday, Bob Kirkwood in Clyde, Texas, and after just 1 year of growing regeneratively, he went cold turkey on taking the chemicals out as well. But in the subsequent year, he ended up adding just a little bit back because his plants looked like they were anemic and they needed a little something. But after just that first crop, he got a premium on his hay. The registered Longhorn breeders that bought it, they could tell a huge difference in their cattle from Texas versus New Mexico. And this is the evidence that an older farmer or rancher needs to see.
Yes.
And this man's 79 years old.
Yep.
He just started doing this 2 years ago. So that you can't teach an old dog new tricks. I have seen that disproven.
And he has sold his whole crop to them. They want to buy all of his hay. So now he doesn't even have to worry about, am I going to sell all this or can I sell all this? They've already, before he's grown it, are wanting and saying, we want all your hay.
Yes.
So is that not what we want as farmers and ranchers, is to have our products, our animals sold as we're growing them? Or, that's because people know the quality that's coming off our land. I think that's a big draw.
Well, and that's such peace of mind.
Yes.
But this whole idea of farmers and ranchers being separate, I mean, that was bred into us as children.
Yes.
I mean, we knew I'm a rancher's daughter. I'm not, my daddy's not a farmer, and wearing that like a badge of honor. And now I know when it's done right, those two people are one person.
Yeah.
You are a farmer and a rancher when you are doing it right.
Yeah. And combining them because they each feed the other. The waste product from the cattle, from the animals are feeding the soil. And then what feeds the soil is feeding the plants that then feeds the animals, that then feeds your family, that feeds your community. And it's making the world a better place in the soil for the microbiology, in your ecosystem, your micro ecosystem, like right around where you live. So it's just a benefit to everyone to do it this way.
Yeah. And when you don't have livestock, that's when it's so great to just be in community with other farmers and ranchers, because you can have them bring their goats or cattle or whatever onto your property and share and help each other. And, we were just talking to Kat yesterday and, the guys at J Ranch, and just telling them, when you have something going on that is very overwhelming, call us and ask us for help.
Yes.
Because when we have a project that's overwhelming, we want to call you and ask you for help. So, this weekend we're going to go out and help. Lord only knows what we're going to have to do with that cactus. Kat, you better have big gloves for me. But making adobe blocks and helping them create these natural building materials. And yeah, it sounds like hard work, but I'm really fired up to do it.
Well, it's so exciting because we're developing things that we can then help other people understand. And that's what I see. It's what I've known for a really long time, is that I understand some things, but I'm not great at explaining them yet. So it's just like, it's okay. I started playing ukulele a couple of years ago, and learning something as an adult has been so rewarding because I get to see what it feels like to practice and to not feel like you're getting any better. And then all of a sudden, one day, it's like something clicks, and all that practice, all that effort that you put in is now realized, and things are different. You can realize that you've moved up a level. So I feel like that's what we're doing with our soil. And it's natural. Relax. It's fine. It's working out. It doesn't have to be perfect. We live in a society that is all about pictures, being perfect, and all this stuff is supposed to look a certain way. And so we look at that hay grazer and say, oh, wow, it's 6 feet tall and it's bright green. Wow, that looks great. But on the inside, it's not great. And then you look at our hemp and the stickers right next door, and there is more nutrient density in that hemp than there would be in that hay grazer, just because of what we put on it when we started growing it, and that we didn't put the nitrogen fertilizer on it. So it's okay. It's okay. I'm fine. It's all good.
Yeah, we're fine. Soil sisters are just fine.
Rocking, rolling, and whatnot. Seriously, do not worry about it. Move on. We got this.
So the stickers led us across the river to visit our Aunt Theresa. She raises goats, and we wanted to talk to her about whether or not goats would get in there and eat that, or what we might be able to do. And so we got a lesson in taking care of goats, and we all took a hand at milking goats.
Yes.
Dion was the best. I'm a liar. She was terrible. But it was fun. We each came home with a couple of quarts of fresh goat milk that tastes delicious.
Delicious. So good.
And just, hot tip, if you ever get like really funky goat's milk or goat cheese and you're like, ugh, those goats did not have clean hooves.
Yeah.
So that's the secret to nice, clean goat milk is well manicured hooves, keeping those babies clean. And our Aunt Theresa, she's excellent at this. She's been raising goats out on the ranch for probably 25 years or so, but she's been milking goats since she was a kid. And I'm telling you, she could win a competition. Yeah. Yes. And then when we left, we went and visited our cousin Brianna and her husband's 300-acre property in Mills County, I think is where they're from.
Richland Hills?
Mills County, Mullen, Texas. Well, John is, talk about somebody being one with the land.
Yeah.
This guy is amazing. He has a 30-foot archaeological dig that he's been working on for several years, almost 5 years, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he's had archaeologists from all over come out to see what he's doing. And he has made amazing knives and
amazing discoveries.
Well, yes, but I'm saying he's making art out of the fossils and whatnot that he is finding and collecting. Mm-hmm. And we're talking about things that are 10,000, 20,000,
45,000 years old. That then they date and say, yep, it's 45,000 years old. Nope, can't be. Got to go. See you later.
Yeah, because it's breaking
their narrative.
But it's just so fun to get out of town and go and get out on the land and see what other people are doing. And they have created amazing habitats for birds and the deer. And he's dug different ponds. They have an aquifer on their property, Lucky Ducks. And so being able to work with the land husbandry and creating spaces where plants and animals are thriving there. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And he has an eye, and it really is. Once you see it, whatever it is for you, for him, it's artifacts. He finds arrowheads and all kinds of tools in like all the time, just walking around, his eye sees them. And so that's where I'm going with the soil, is just to be able to look at it and understand what's happening and how to better help whoever's it is or whoever needs help to make it what we want it to be, so that it grows productively the things that we want it to grow, and not super productive sticker patches.
Yeah. Yes, 1,000%. Well, and to see someone who can take this skill set and then turn it into art the way he has.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It really is. I'm going to post those pictures on our Instagram. Yeah. He's brilliant. I mean, literally, we're about to leave and I fall. Okay. There were like big areas that you could take a large tumble and maybe lose your life. But I just tripped backwards over a rock. And Crystal was like, I thought the way you were moving around, I thought you were about to fall off a cliff. Because I'm constantly trying. I don't want to fall if I don't have to. So I was trying to save it till the last minute. But I have road rash on my right leg. It reminded me of the time we went. Yes. It reminded me of homecoming. I fell down, did a backflip, and never spilled my beer.
She's good like that, y'all. Okay, one more underwriting announcement, and we'll be right back.
All right. I would like to talk because it is so hot out here right now, and it was so hot when we were doing this walkabout. Stress adaptation. This is something, the work that I do with Fed and Happy, this is something that's top of mind right now for anybody that's growing anything.
Right.
And I was thinking about these different stress adaptations that we're talking about are things like the heat or soil compaction, where, you know, there's no life in your soil. So it's like a brick. Therefore, there's no airflow going through it. So biology can't survive, and other stresses or insects or weeds. And so thinking about the land having all of these stresses and, you know, the ecosystem, but then also us as humans in the summertime where the heat gets to us and we get stressed. Mm-hmm. And so I was thinking through, like, isn't it interesting that the things that are going to make me feel better as a human and relieve my stress actually end up being the same things that will relieve stress for plants. Right. So I'm like, breathing. Mm-hmm. When I'm stressed out, I stop, I get quiet, and I breathe. So the soil compaction problem, that's the plants, the roots, they can't breathe. They're suffocating. Mm-hmm. That's why we plant cover crops and things like that to help them bring the soil temperature down, and just like a healthy diet and water.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, I'm stressed. I know this is what I need to do for myself. So now when I turn around and look at my garden or my crops, my corn or sorghum or whatever it is, like, if I'm feeling these stresses, my plant is feeling these stresses, and what are some of those solutions?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. These stresses, the reason for weeds, to get back to what we started talking about earlier, there's like 6 main reasons for weeds, and that is bare soil. First one is bare soil. There's no or low organic matter is also another reason weeds come around. Compacted soil, and they come in to help with that. Mineral activity, if there's not the right mix of minerals, or if there's too much of one, then things will grow better there, and those are always weeds. If there's not enough microbial life in the soil, then a lot of times that's where weeds will come from. And it's also a safety valve for toxins. So it's just like the hemp remediating the soil. That's part of that. It's drawing in those toxins and holding them within its leaves and stem and such to pull those out of the soil. So if you have bare soil, the best thing that we can do is try to avoid that at all costs. So if you have bare soil in your yard, put mulch with, you know, your wood mulch or your hay or straw or something like that. Compost is so good. So always covering up bare spots. For the compaction, planting cover crops. Looking for the crops that are going to have a deeper root, which also allow your dandelions to be there. That's a deep taproot. And what it's doing is breaking up the compaction, and it's pulling up minerals and such from deeper in the soil. So it's always good to notice what's covering your soil, and you can begin to do things and support it to move your, you know, self back into healthy grass or something. But while the weeds are there, don't pull them up. Just let them be there and then start working around that.
Well, and also like the radish is great, because when you have the bulb that they create, then that's creating space in the soil. And then you don't remove it.
Yeah.
You know, you're not pulling them out. You're leaving it in there, letting it decay and become food.
Yeah. And then as it breaks down, it invites all this microbial activity, the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and nematodes. And you are calling them in, because if they can't get in there, and again, with the compaction, like there's no room to move. So when you do that and you open up that space, then they do come, and that helps tremendously.
one of the things that we're going to do a work day soon at the community garden is to put the shade cloth up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That is a solution to just like give the plants some sort of a break and just minimize the beating sun. If you do have, bare ground and spots or whatever, if you're talking about a garden or a small space, using bamboo to as the stabilizer and hanging these shade cloths. So we're going to do that, and we'll post some pictures of that as well at Soil Sisters Podcast Instagram.
Yes. And when we came home, we were going through the garden and watering stuff, and I need to put another layer of that straw down. So I can already tell that like where it's been watered and there's places that it's starting to thin out a little bit. And so watering really well and then putting that straw down, as it just helps so much. And us being gone for several days, I think Danielle came over and watered once, but everything looked great. It was protected. And also I have some enormous sunflowers growing up around my garden and on the edge of where my garden bed is, and where I have a big deck that gets hot as fire, literally fire. And so those tall sunflower seeds are just adding a layer. They're blocking that sun from beating down on that part of the deck that was then reflecting off and like burning my plants up. So it's so interesting how and this is all like birds planted these sunflower seeds for us. So they're all in different places all over the yard. I really love it. And it's just so much protection and an invitation to bees and other pollinators. And it is so beautiful to look around and just to see the nature and the flowers everywhere. And I didn't have to do that. And I don't even really have to water them that much. I water all the other stuff, but it's just like if you quit calling them weeds and start allowing yourself to feel and see and appreciate the benefit of what they're offering and recognizing the transition from bare soil into whatever it is that you're moving towards, and just, it changes everything. It changes the way you feel about it. And then when you change the way you feel, everything changes. So it's fun.
It is fun. And I think if you get even nerdier about it, of like, what we're talking about right now with these sticker burrs, just like, what are they saying? What are they indicating to us? What do we need more of? I mean, we know we need more of all the biology.
Yes.
But, just getting more curious as to, they can't talk, but them showing up is their message.
Yeah. Yes. And that is something that I'm really trying to figure out, when you're searching on the internet and you have to say exactly search the right words to get the right. I know. So anyway, I'm just like, how do I ask what this sticker is offering? Like, what is the makeup of it? What is it drawing up from the soil? What is, so anyway, I'm still in the process of this kind of contemplating and searching and researching and reading. So anyway, it will develop. And I do, because I'm looking for a solution, because I know there is a solution and this is telling me something. And Dion said the best thing. Love her so much. She was like, God is looking at us like, are they going to figure it out? Are they going to get it? Because if they get it, it's going to blow their minds and they are going to help so many people. But are they going to figure it out? Because everyone else is just poisoning. So it's like, can you take a minute and sit with and be with and contemplate and relax and breathe and imagine what you want, and then begin moving in the direction of the research and the trying to figure out from that energy of solution. And I'm going to, and I cannot wait. And I'm literally giddy about it. Helping find a solution for grass burrs, helping find a solution for Johnson grass, helping find a solution for mesquite. And in the meantime, so first of all, okay, so you don't want that. Great. What's it good for right now? Mesquite is a superfood, people. And I'm 50 years old. I've grown up with mesquites, and I never realized until the past 2 or 3 years what a beneficial plant this is, and how nutritionally dense it is, and how could literally feed people.
It did feed
Yes.
people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And that's the thing when people talk about growing hemp being new or cannabis being used as a medicine being new. It's like, no, these things aren't new.
Yeah.
They were hidden and forgotten.
Yeah.
And so we're doing our own archaeological dig into the practices that helped our people and lands thrive for millennia before big ag came around.
Big pharma.
Both. We talk about garden and stuff, but as far as farmers in the area growing corn or sorghum or hay and whatnot, they can be just chemical fertilizers using them, but you too can use biological solutions, especially in the summer, to help with, summer heat stress reduction for sorghum and reduced headworms. And with corn, there's been lots of bad weather and people have suffered hail damage and whatnot. And so using biology on damaged plants can help rescue them and, reducing fungal pressures, insect pressures, weed pressures, and also helps with greater nitrogen utilization. You spend all that money on the nitrogen, you might as well make sure your corn gets to utilize all of it. And then like we saw with Bob Kirkwood using the biology, he got more tonnage. He's had faster regrowth. He has higher feed value.
Yes.
And then, folks that are soy, because that's another huge one in our big ag model. If the plant gets stressed and whatnot, they can crack. The beans crack when you're handling them.
Wow.
So by utilizing the biology, it reduces that. People see greater pod counts, reduced pod worm and fungal pressures. And so don't think that you have to do one or the other.
Right.
And so being able to marry those things together and then slowly start phasing out the bad.
Yeah. You don't have to stop cold turkey. You can just begin to add biology in all that you do. Adding or humic acids or, compost or a vermiculture, compost tea, different kind of things like that. Just begin adding that, supporting the life that's already there and just nurturing what you've got going on. And again, titrating off a little bit at a time until you feel comfortable. And you're going to see amazing differences. I mean, I can't believe his land is beautiful. I love his setup. It's perfect. He's got like 30 acres. He has all the toys. He knows how to drive them. I mean, I was just riding around on his little ATV and just thinking, oh my gosh, like he just says, oh, I need to do this. And he just hooks up his tractor and drives right out there and does it and comes back. And we're like, okay, we need to find a tractor and now we need a truck and we need someone who could drive it. And I was just really feeling the joy that he gets from his life there. And I'm just thinking so many farmers have that opportunity and maybe they're not experiencing it right now, but the potential is there. And that is what I, as a part of the Texas Soil Sisters, want to do, is to help find ways to make it easier for farmers to have a better life, for them to have more profitability, and sure, maybe more yields, but definitely more profit so that they don't feel so squoze and tight and worried about things, and they feel easier and happier and are working in tandem with nature rather than spending thousands and thousands of dollars to a chemical company. That's really what's putting them under at the moment.
Yeah. And giving most of them cancer.
Yeah. And they know it. People are knowing it.
They do.
And they're talking about it in small towns where their friends are dying and they know why. So, and I was thinking the other day, like helpful, like supportive, growth, poison. Like, which one of these words doesn't fit, and for that to be the answer, for poison to be the answer to anything, it just boggles my mind. And I'm like, why are we still talking about this? Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Well, and for it to be someone to say it's a solution, fine. Yes,
Okay.
poison is a solution,
It is.
but don't tell me it's the only solution.
Exactly.
And that's why I'm so excited to share Bob's story on the podcast, because he got an ag degree at Kansas State, and then in his mid 70s started learning about regenerative agriculture. And his first thought is, why did nobody tell me this?
Exactly.
Why did they not teach me this? And when you understand and are able to connect the dots, because he spent the beginning of his young life and young career working in peddling those things.
Yes.
So he knows all about it. Nobody knows more about that world, I would say, than someone like him who worked in the industry and practiced it. And for him to say, no way, man, no more.
Yeah.
As again, at that time, I think he was 75 or 76 years old.
Yeah.
So to me, it is extremely inspirational to hear him talk and to see how vibrant he is.
He is.
He's on a carnivore diet. He takes care of himself. He eats organically. And it's a really, really beautiful thing.
When he told us how old he was, we all gasped. Oh my gosh. That is amazing.
Yes.
Amazing.
I mean, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Absolutely.
He is modeling that for sure.
Yes.
Well, sis, I know we're getting close on time. Is there something on your list that you really want to speak to before we wrap?
It's something we can talk about next week. I mean, I could get into it. Insects can't digest complex sugars that are in healthy plants. So that's why we have insects, is because we don't have healthy plants, and that's the simple sugars that they can digest. So we can talk about more of that next week.
Yeah. I mean, stay on the edge of your seat all week for that one.
I love it.
All right.
You are listening to KLKTLP 107.9 Lockhart with the Texas Soil Sisters Radio Hour. We are so happy to spend this time with you. Thanks for being with us.
Connect with the Soil Sisters at txsoilsisters.co. Submit questions, guest or show ideas, and sponsorship inquiries. The Soil Sisters podcast was created and produced by Joanna Nuding. Editing and sound design are in the capable hands of the PodConnects Podcast Network.